Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
I'm your host, Chris Santamassimo, and the podcast is powered by OGC Solutions. I'm really excited today to talk with a really strategic leader in the print business, which is not uncommon, but Sam Campitella, who you're going to meet in a moment, is one of those leaders. What we're going to talk about today is his company. He's the president of Vivid Impact in Louisville. So good morning, Sam, and thanks for joining the podcast.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me, Chris.
You're welcome, and I really appreciate you joining us. You know, just to get started, Sam, I'd love to hear where Vivid Impact has come from. But, I think one of the themes I want to talk about today, maybe two of them, are really the strategic approach that you and your team have taken to not only developing the business, but also developing your people. And then, secondly, that strategic approach in terms of how you're serving your customers. So take it away, Sam. I'd love to hear about Vivid Impact.
Sure. So Vivid Impact is a MarTech business. So we utilize marketing and technology on the front end to enable the print journey. So it's not that we forgot about print, but we've invested heavily in the front end of our business. So we have a large design team with an agency attached to the business. In addition to that, we carry developers on site within our business. So that's been a huge benefit for us as we've continued to grow our partnerships. The company's actually been in business. This is our 50th year.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It started as a commercial print business, and the vision of the founder was to turn it into more of an agency marketing technology-based business. So it's been an evolution, and it's not been easy, but we feel like every year we're getting closer and closer to where we wanted to get to. That said, go ahead.
Sounds like the founder was thinking about marketing technology before that was a thing.
He's been forward thinking for some time and has certainly passed that along to our leadership team today.
Fantastic.
So some of the things that have benefited us have really been targeted selling. So we work in three different sectors. The business is very involved in healthcare, convenience and retail, and the spirits business, given the fact that we're in Louisville, Kentucky. It's great that all three verticals have been doing so well in today's business environment. But when we went away from a model that said, hey, we're going to be transactional based and we're going to focus in on print instead of looking at the value of what we can expand with in areas that we have a proven track record, it made a huge difference. So the targeted approach to healthcare, convenience, spirit, it's been a game changer for us.
So how does that really work in terms of how you approach? Is it more of an industry or a sector approach?
Our approach has always been, at least in recent years, has been to wrap a team around a customer that is programmatic in nature. So we can depend on their work consistently week over week, and we're an extension of their business. So that's really what we target within those sectors. If we can do that, we add a lot of value. We love to be able to tie in, creative design, video, animation. In addition to that, we've got technology applications beyond your standard digital storefront. So when you have custom developers that are on site, you can design the user experience of the portal that they'll be ordering through, and then you can have your creative team log their brand standards, which has been critical for us. In addition to that, we've been working on proprietary software to serve the retail and convenience industry for some time. We're on iteration 2 of it, so it's now called Precision Pop 2.0. We really believe it's game-changing in the industry's best software.
So when you talk about serving the convenience and retail businesses with an on-demand print model, what kind of things do they order, and how does it all work in terms of how you bring the technology together with the print?
So convenience and retail is a mix. There is some digital that comes along with it, but the majority of it is wide format. So a lot of what we're doing is our job in convenience and retail is to drive consumers from the pump into the stores. Simple as that. So we want that to be a part of our journey. We're responsible for the design of the signage and the printing and distribution of the signage that's at the pumps and inside the stores. So a lot of common items that you'd see out there would be, pump toppers, window clings on the outside of the storefronts. And then when you move into the business, you've got cooler clings, you have shelf talkers, you have aisle violators, you have wobblers. There's lots of different items that convenience and retail do to attract the buyer to the promo. And when you're able to do that and educate the buyer, you're usually able to get an impulse sale.
Well, the whole idea, I think, is to create an experience when you go to pump gas, for example. You want that customer to get into an environment that they feel comfortable and interested to go check out and pick up those convenience items before they leave the store.
Correct. Yep.
It's funny that, some of these things we take for granted, but, when you go pump gas, for example, or in New Jersey where we are, you sit in your car as someone else pumps the gas. But nevertheless, you're getting a lot of visual cues about, what you might need, where you can get it, what's going on inside. And, I think it's interesting how that the physical signage and the digital connection, whether it's an app, whether it's something that's being broadcast at the pump, really creates that, those mental responses and thoughts about going in the store and spending more money.
Yeah, there's a real reason behind a lot of the monthly promotional signage that you see at every convenience store chain nationwide. It's educating the buyer based upon the promos that you're providing that month is critical. A lot of folks think that petro is how companies and convenience make money, but it's just it's really driving the consumer into the store where they're purchasing merchandise. That's where they're able to make a little bit more margin and support the customer beyond just pumping gas.
So does Vivid Impact's solution, does that enable, the operators of those stores and the gas pumps to change up their signage more frequently than they otherwise might?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we utilize is Precision Pop. So this is a store profiling software, Chris. And what it allows you to do is every store is not created equal. They have different sets of pumps, different coolers, coffee stations, you name it. Just they're outfitted totally differently. And in addition to that, the industry, when they're building new convenience stores, it's expensive to do. So there's a lot of consolidation, a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And when that happens, it's important that store profiles are put together so that we have one single source of truth. So Vivid's tool, what it allows you to do is be able to log those store attributes and keep them in a safe place. And what they do at that point is they allow you to custom distribute out to those stores and not overprint. It's often that we see a lot of category managers, brand managers operating out of a spreadsheet. We believe that we can take the human element out of it, and by utilizing store profiles and the automation associated with Precision Pop, it allows us to, again, save them time, money, and eliminate spoilage, overprinting, and sending overall signage to stores in which they're in a different state and they have a different outfit. Thus, they're not able to use that signage.
Well, in a way, you're also, in addition to saving the customer money and creating more value in terms of being able to customize the point of purchase displays, you're really keying into some of their goals in terms of sustainability as well.
Correct. I mean, sustainability is not going away, and it's critical to the environment. If we want to be able to responsibly take care of our customer base, we've got to think about things that would associate with the substrates that we're using. So a lot of what we do is FSC, FSI certified, meaning that it's certified through the forestry program. But in addition to that, we have multiple locations now that allow us to be able to serve our customers and cut down on freight expenses, but also be better to the environment.
Yeah, the less waste, the better. And each of the companies that you deal with, I'm sure, has its own, sustainability goals. So every box you can check in terms of the service you provide is that much more value to the company.
Yep.
Another piece of how you go to market, I think is really interesting when you talk about sort of account-based management or customer-centric management. Talk a little bit about Vivid Impact's approach on that subject.
Yeah, so we have a bit of a radical approach as it pertains to new business development and account management. Traditionally, you'd see a lot of sales reps, and we once started with a great deal of sales reps. And we would pair a customer service representative with an account executive. But what we've done over the years is we've noticed that our customers want things quicker. So it's not that we don't love sales reps. It just means that the sales reps should be out there selling, and it's very difficult to do a handoff or pass customer information while you're in the field. So what we've done is we've trained our customer service representatives and made them more inside sales. So we've had them move into a hybrid role in which they have direct access to our clients. They're in front of a computer, and the sales rep can sell things like special projects or new business or new opportunities beyond just traditional print. But the project manager is really responsible for the blocking and tackling of taking the order and moving it into production and making sure that it bills and that it ships on time. So our approach has certainly been a bit different. So again, I think we're closer to a model of 70% inside sales, 30% outside sales. And I think it's going to continue to be that way for some time.
Yeah, it seems that, what the traditional model of selling where someone has to go physically visit a customer, while that's important sometimes to create a relationship, it's not the end all be all anymore, especially in this post-COVID age where we're a lot more comfortable with video conferencing and doing things remotely.
Yeah, that's one thing that's been a big benefit to us. We've got a team that's adopted to the new tools that are out there. You continue to see people working remote, not from the office. And ultimately, we've expanded into Microsoft Teams from a selling perspective, and it's been a huge benefit. Again, I think the quicker you can react to customers' needs, the better. That's that competitive urgency that I truly feel is unmatched at Vivid Impact. When you work with us, you know that you're going to have an individual, especially if you have a programmatic approach to how you're working with Vivid, you're going to be working with a team. And that team's available to answer any questions that you have, and our response time is typically within an hour, if not better.
Yeah, that's another post-COVID issue, I guess you'd say, is that expectations about response time are a lot shorter than they were before. Maybe that's a function of competition. Maybe it's a function of people being close to the computer all the time or being available all the time. But I think it really impacts a business like Vivid Impacts that's got sort of a complex product or a complex service that it's providing.
Well, traditional marketing, Chris, has really gone beyond print. So that's another reason why we've created that in-house agency Launchpad, where we have about 20 individuals that are serving the customer. But a lot of these folks in marketing used to be, titled print buyer. But now they're managing things like social media, they're managing marketing, they could be managing categories, so they're multitasking. And costs are rising in businesses. Labor is not getting any cheaper. So it's really important that businesses double down and try to find efficiencies and have folks do more than just the traditional things that they had done 10, 15 years ago. So we see a lot of that. And where we benefit, Vivid benefits in serving the client is just, again, having the different levels of approach between agency and account management that are able to support that.
And you mentioned the digital marketing side of things, especially because you have your own in-house agency. I suspect, and you can talk about it, I suspect that, the journey with a customer doesn't necessarily start with digital and end with print. The model may jump around a little bit because you're really connecting those things in a bit of an episodic way, I think.
Yeah. So, Chris, I remember when I started in 2017, we had 2-3 designers and they were incredible, but we've noticed very quickly after we were able to sell this more frequently and talk more about the customer journey and not just printing, but enabling the ability to design and then move into production, that if we stayed on it, it could expand, which has led to obviously the growth that you see within our agency. But, moving beyond just graphic design, now we're digitizing, those designs. We have team members that can animate and move those designs into food service, digital menu boards, billboard ads, you name it. We're able to take a static asset and now animate it, and it makes a huge difference. We've noticed, especially within social media, that if you take, a formal item that would be static and you go ahead and you digitize it with animation, the response rate's over 50% more. So again, we're doubling down in that arena, and we're going to continue to invest within the right equipment and team members to support our future growth within digital signage.
What's interesting about Vivid as compared to a lot of companies is that it's not just the connection to social media that you've accomplished. You really have this, sort of full service approach that can start and end and maybe go back to the agency that really does a lot of the creative design, which ends up in print or which ends up on social media. So you really have this whole ecosystem set up.
Yeah, it's, I remember, back 5-7 years ago, we had noticed that it just seemed like it felt clunky. The more time that you have that you can dedicate to your day-to-day job associated with marketing, the better off you are. So being able to eliminate multiple vendors has been a huge win for us, for our customers. Again, they don't have to go to 2 to 3 vendors to get something done now. They go to one company, Vivid Impact, who is able to accomplish not only the design, animation, or any other agency-based service. We're able to move it into print with a sense of urgency. That's cutting down on time, and it's cutting down on costs. So ultimately, both sides win.
Exactly, because you've got that efficiency really built into the ecosystem. Yep. And no matter how much we talk about the digital side of your business, I think it all comes back to the team that you have, the people that are managing the accounts, the people that are servicing your customers. And I was really impressed when we got to know each other a bit about how much Vivid Impact invests in the team. Talk about some of the things that you're doing to empower your folks.
Yeah, we use a tremendous amount of consultants. Chris, I think there's a couple different ways that we go about it. First, from a leadership standpoint, we meet once a quarter and do strategic planning. It's a day dedicated to, or typically a day and a half dedicated to, what is the business doing today? Great. And ultimately, how do we future-proof it? How do we look out 60, 90, 120, and as far out as 3 to 5 years, and make sure that we're doing the things today from an objective standpoint to meet the needs of our customers in the future. That's been critical for us. I think ever since we decided to move towards strategic planning, we've been more focused than ever. But in addition to that, it's empowering our leaders as we've grown, because again, we've gone from about 100 team members to 300 team members. So we're asking our team members and our leaders to do more, to get outside of their comfort zone. So we've invested in programs that are beyond just traditional consulting, such as, Vistage. That's a big network. In addition to that, I'm in YPO. We have a couple peer groups that our team members are in, such as the Graphic Communications Leadership Institute. And then we have our COO and a COO CEO roundtable group within the industry. So they're able to make the connections that they need outside of our four walls, and it's really benefited our business.
The issue of labor and employees is really on the tip of everyone's tongue, no matter what industry you're in, but certainly in the print business. And I think a lot of folks miss the need to, empower the people that they have and have them rise up to do more or do different things and stay engaged. So those types of programs, I think, have to be valuable, that is, in terms of employee retention for you.
Yeah, we've noticed that retention is critical to the growth of our business. We've been lucky to be able to keep team members for some time, and I think that's because what we've been able to do is companies, in order to be able to keep top-tier performers and bring them into the business and sustain their employment, is we've got to grow. And as you grow, more opportunity becomes available. But it's been crucial for our culture, too. I think, what's been big for us is the investment in our people. And if we're able to keep our team members in the business, they get better year over year, as long as we're doing our part. We're treating people with respect. We're educating them. We're giving them more opportunity. More opportunity typically yields more income for them and more of a rewarding job. So I think it's all intertwined within our culture and our approach to making our team members, specifically our leaders, better every single day.
A lot of companies make the mistake of just making those resources available to the executive suite, but to be able to, bring it down to other levels of the organization, I think is a powerful thing.
Yeah, we started at the executive suite, and then we noticed how big of a difference that it made. And then on top of that, we noticed, hey, we've got a large middle management team. If we're not investing in our middle management team, we're going to stop at the executive level. We've made a mistake. So we've really seen the last 12 to 18 months the impact that it's had on our middle management team. Super excited about their future. I don't see us slowing down anytime soon. They've become incredible leaders, and I'm so proud to see the commitment that they've made within our business and their development.
Yeah, and again, they come to work with more energy, more opportunity, rather than just being sort of stuck in one position or one silo. So that to me, I think, is a great way to develop your people.
Yeah, we love to talk about the case studies that we have within our business. I can think of 2 to 3 just offhand. We had a designer come into our business 4 years ago, wasn't exceptional at what he did, but ultimately he quickly rose as the department grew to, a senior designer, then moved into an art director, an associate creative director. There's 3 promotions, and now he oversees our entire creative team. So I'm really proud of him, but also the leadership that he's taken on and how we've been able to expand that department. I also look at sales. For example, we have a gentleman that came into sales. He did fine his first year or 2, but really continued to try to chip away at new business development, had some success, and then build a foundation on a certain industry, convenience and retail. Moved into a senior sales position, and now he oversees our national sales team. So it's an incredible testament to the business and their hard work.
And I think it sort of obviates the need, if you will, to go out and find people to fill those senior roles. You're able to have people within your organization who know the culture rise up to those bigger positions rather than trying to bring in an outsider all the time.
Yeah, we've seen that doesn't necessarily work as well as we'd like it to. I'm not saying that we haven't tried that, but I tell you what's really helped the organization in our journey is finding team members that can come into the business, earn your stripes, and make a major impact, and then the credibility continues to rise as they rise in the organization. So I had to do that in my role. I didn't come in as president. I was the VP of sales, and I was in that role for 4.5 years. I've been in this role for 3, and it certainly gave me a lot more confidence as I occupy the role that I'm in today.
Well, when you learn the culture that way, but more importantly, you know how the place works. in a sense, and you prove yourself also, which gives you that, even a stronger platform to become the president in your case or to gain that bigger role.
Well, you're really able to, build rapport with your teammates. I think it's very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I do find it difficult to be able to build instant rapport the minute you step into the business. I've seen leaders come into businesses and, talk about what they've done in the past, and that can come off the wrong way sometimes. I think you really have to focus in on the role, build relationships within the business, have some success. And if you're able to do all three of those things, you've got a recipe for success. But again, I think what was beneficial is building the relationship at the floor level, the area leadership level, which is middle management. Without that, I'm not sure how successful we would be.
Well, to sum up this piece of it, Sam, it sounds like with all the efforts you've made with education and team building, skills building, you're really able to focus on what your goals are as a company. So I'd love to hear what you think some of the goals are for Vivid Impact in the next couple of years, and maybe even where you see the industry going and how Vivid fits in.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question, Chris. Where I see Vivid moving to is, we finished the year last year at about 35 million. We have some pretty incredible goals in front of us. We're focused in on becoming a $65 million business by the end of the year. We really believe that we can get to 100 million within the next 2 to 3 years. We don't necessarily need to acquire other businesses. We've had some incredible opportunities through the reputations that we've developed in the industries in which we serve. And we've had a lot of opportunity to be able to grow our front end of the business. So, it sounds like a lot of growth, and trust me, it is. It's an investment in people. But the really beneficial part of our business is that not everything flows through one area. It's not all commercial printing or wide format or digital printing. We've got fulfillment services where we see a lot of revenue come through, third-party logistics and warehousing. The agency does a couple $1 million a year. Our technology applications and our softwares as a service are revenue generating. So the revenue's coming in a lot of different elements. So it's a business that is pretty well established at this point. And I see that the industry itself is going to be moving forward in terms of more digital type services. I think that the equipment itself is digitizing quicker than ever. And I think that I think that's a reaction to customer demand. I think customers want things faster, cheaper, and it's difficult to do that from a commercial standpoint or a web press. I think digital is kind of the new direction that folks are moving, shorter runs. And then also being able to offer alternative solutions in your business. It's good to print, but it's also important to understand what else can you do to solve customer pain points.
Yeah, that's the point, is really just being a solutions provider rather than just being in one silo.
Yeah.
In addition to that, Sam, I think you have some geographic expansion on your map as well, right?
Yeah, we're really excited about that. So we went from one location in Louisville to now 3 different locations. So we've got the mothership here at corporate is about 80,000 square foot. We have a warehousing, secure pick, pack, and ship location over 30,000 square foot, about 5 miles away from it. And then we actually, through this acquisition that we went through in early January, added another 30,000 square foot. So we've got basically a triangle in Louisville, all different types of service offerings. But the great thing is that we just opened a location in Phoenix, Arizona. So 60,000 square foot, we're going to be doing printing, fulfillment, warehousing, and we're going to ship to the West Coast, better serve the West Coast. And we are also opening up a Dallas sales office. I think there's a tremendous amount of upside in that marketplace, and we look forward to eventually one day putting a location in the Dallas market.
Well, thanks to the tech platform that you've got, you can easily shift work from one location to the other and give to your point, give your customers better service in terms of delivery times, freight, et cetera, just by having that national coverage now.
Yeah, we really want to be able to enable each of the different locations to stand up as satellites in support of Vivid as a whole. But I think what's really going to be beneficial is just being able to be in the local marketplace or a little bit more closer to each of the areas in the United States where we've seen a lot of expansion.
Fantastic. Well, Sam, this is a great chat, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to introduce more folks to what Vivid Impact does. It sounds to me like this is a place where somebody could make their career and do well, see growth, opportunity, et cetera. But just in closing, just let us know what you'd like folks to know about opportunities there and what you're looking to do in the future.
Yeah, thanks so much for the time, Chris. I really enjoyed speaking with you and the opportunity to talk on this podcast. I'd say that, Vivid is hiring, if you can't tell, different positions all across our footprint, from design, video, animation, printing, warehousing. So if you'd like to look for a position at our company, go to vividimpact.com, go to careers, and sign up. Our HR team will work with you to go ahead and figure out if it's a good fit. really look forward to the future in 2024 and beyond, and looking at exceeding our clients' expectations.
Sounds like you're well on your way to doing that and being successful. So thanks, Sam, for sharing a lot of great ideas today.
Thank you. Have a great day, Chris.
Thank you, Sam. And just to close, again, this is Sam Campitella, who's the president of Vivid Impact in Louisville, Kentucky, and now in Dallas and Phoenix. So congratulations on your success. Good luck in the future. And thanks for joining the Think Factory podcast. And we'll see everyone next time.
Thank you.